The last words I ever received from him weren't whispered in love or written in hope. They were scribbled on a piece of paper smudged with ink and something that looked a lot like tears. Forgive me. I can't fight anymore. Don't wait for me, that was it. No explanation. No goodbye kiss. No hand to hold. Just a note that felt like a dagger pressed against my heart. I read it over and over as if maybe I missed something. A secret code, a hidden promise, anything to tell me this wasn't real. But no matter how many times I traced the letters, the truth remained the same. He left, and he left me on a dying note. I clutched the paper so tight it crumpled. My chest hurt, my throat burned, but no tears came at first. It was too sudden, too unreal. Why, Adrian? I whispered into the silence of my room. My voice cracked. Why didn't you let me in? The wind rattled the window, the lamp flickered, and the whole world seemed to echo his absence. That was the night my life broke into pieces I didn't know how to gather again. When I first met Adrian, love wasn't even part of the deal. Literally, it was a deal. A contract signed on paper, binding me to him for reasons that were as practical as they were painful. He needed someone by his side to silence rumors around his business, and I needed the money for my mother's treatment. It was supposed to be nothing more than an arrangement. 6 months, he had said, sliding the paper across the table. His voice was cold then, distant. After that, you walk away richer. I walk away untangled. I had stared at him, at his sharp jaw, his unreadable eyes, and wondered how someone could look both broken and powerful at the same time. Fine, I replied, my fingers trembling as I signed my name. 6 months. But 6 months were enough to turn strangers into something else entirely. Somewhere between his guarded smiles, his late-night confessions when he thought I was asleep, and the way his hand lingered a second longer on mine, the contract blurred. I told myself I wouldn't fall. But I did. Hard. And I thought against all odds he fell too. At least until the day he left me that note. I didn't see it at first. The cracks, the shadows, the way Adrian's laughter sometimes sounded hollow, like he was forcing it out just for me. At night, I would wake to find him sitting at the edge of the bed, his shoulders hunched, his head buried in his hands. Adrian, I whispered once, reaching out. What's wrong? He turned quickly, forcing a smile. Nothing. Go back to sleep. But I knew it wasn't nothing, the way his fingers trembled when he lit a cigarette, the way his phone buzzed and he ignored it, his jaw tightening every time, the way his eyes clouded when he thought I wasn't watching. One evening, as rain tapped against the windows, I found him in his office. He was staring at a stack of papers, but not reading them. Just staring. Lost, Adrian? I said gently, stepping closer. Talk to me. His eyes lifted to mine, and for a second I thought he might finally tell me. But then he shook his head, the mask sliding back into place. You don't need to know everything, he said, his voice low. Some things are better left unsaid. It stung more than I expected. Better left unsaid, I whispered. I thought we were past secrets. He stood, walking toward me, his hand brushing my cheek. Not all secrets are meant to hurt you. Some are meant to protect you, but protect me from what? That question burned in my chest, and no matter how much I tried to push it away, it kept haunting me. Weeks passed, and his walls only grew higher. But then, out of nowhere, he would break them for a moment, like the night he came home drunk. His steps unsteady, his eyes red. I rushed to steady him. Adrian, you're not okay. Please talk to me. He laughed bitterly, sinking into the couch. Do you ever feel like the whole world wants a piece of you, but you don't even own yourself anymore? I froze. It was the most honest thing he had ever said to me. I knelt in front of him, holding his hands. Then give me that piece, Adrian. Let me carry it for you. His gaze softened, and for the first time I thought he might let me in. But then he pulled his hands back, shaking his head. You shouldn't love me, he whispered. I'll only hurt you. And that was the moment I realized Adrian was fighting something I couldn't see. A war inside him that he refused to name, and yet no matter how much he tried to push me away, I couldn't stop falling deeper. That was the beginning of the end, because love without truth always leaves you bleeding. The night it happened felt ordinary at first. Adrian had come home late, the way he often did now. His tie was loose, his face pale, his eyes carrying that same distant storm. I was waiting for him in the living room, curled up on the couch with a blanket. You're late, I said softly, trying not to sound accusing. I had work, he replied. his voice flat as if rehearsed. I stood and walked to him, reaching for his coat, but he stepped back. That small gesture sliced deeper than words ever could. "Adrian," I whispered. "Don't do this. Don't shut me out." For a long moment, he just looked at me as if memorizing my face. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. My chest tightened. "What's that?" He didn't answer. He just placed it on the coffee table, his fingers lingering on it for a second longer before pulling away. "Read it," he said, his voice breaking on the last word. Fear rooted me to the ground. "Why can't you just tell me?" "Because if I say it out loud," he murmured, his eyes glistening, "I won't be able to walk away." And then he turned, walked out the door, and didn't look back. My hands shook as I unfolded the paper. The words blurred at first because of my tears. "Forgive me. I can't fight anymore. Don't wait for me." I read it once, twice, 10 times. Each time the words carved deeper into my soul. "No," I whispered, shaking my head violently. "No, no, no." I ran after him, but the street outside was empty. His car was gone, swallowed by the night. I dropped to my knees on the cold pavement, clutching the paper against my chest, sobbing into the darkness. "Why, Adrian?" My voice cracked, breaking into pieces. "Why did you let me love you if you were only going to leave me like this?" The silence was my only answer. That night something inside me died with him. The days that followed were a blur. I stopped eating, stopped sleeping. I stared at that note until the ink felt burned into my skin. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him walking away. Every time I opened them, I remembered he wasn't coming back. I kept asking myself the same question. Did I miss the signs? Was there something I could have done to stop him? But the more I searched for answers, the more I realized he never gave me a chance to save him, and so I was left with nothing but a dying note and a heart that wouldn't stop bleeding. After Adrian left, the silence in the apartment became unbearable. Every corner still smelled like him. Every chair still carried his shape. The note sat on my nightstand like a ghost I couldn't bury. At first I thought the pain in my chest was only heartbreak. But then came the dizzy spells, the pounding headaches, the nights when I'd wake up struggling to breathe. I tried to ignore it. Tried to tell myself it was grief, nothing more. But one morning I collapsed in the kitchen, the glass shattering in my hand as the world spun around me. When I opened my eyes, I was in a hospital bed. Machines beeped softly, the smell of disinfectant sharp in my nose. A doctor stood at the foot of the bed, his face too calm, too careful. "Emma," he said gently, "we found something, a tumor. It's serious." His words blurred together after that. Tumor, surgery, treatment, uncertainty. I pressed my hand to my stomach, trying to steady myself. My heart pounded as his voice faded in and out. But one thought screamed louder than everything else. Adrian isn't here. The man I had given my heart to, the one I wanted most in this moment, was gone, and I was left to fight alone. Treatment was brutal. The days melted into weeks of weakness, needles, and pain that felt endless. There were nights I cried silently, clutching my pillow, whispering his name into the dark. "Adrian, I need you. Why aren't you here?" But the only answer was the hum of machines and the sound of my own broken breathing. Friends visited, but their eyes carried pity, and pity was worse than loneliness. My mother tried to be strong, but she was already fragile herself. I couldn't lean on her, so I carried it alone. Every time I looked in the mirror and saw the pale, thinner version of myself, I wondered if he would even recognize me now, or if he ever really knew me at all. One night, after another round of treatment, I sat by the hospital window. The city lights blinked below, so full of life, while I felt trapped between living and dying. I pulled the crumpled note from my pocket. It never left me. My fingers traced the words until my tears smeared the ink even more. "Forgive me. I can't fight anymore." I let out a bitter laugh. "You couldn't fight, Adrian. But now I have no choice. It hit me then. I might die. And if I did, the last memory of us would be his choice to leave me. That thought was more painful than the illness itself. So I made a promise to myself. If I survived, I wouldn't survive for him. I would survive for me, for the woman he left behind but couldn't destroy. Survival changes you. It strips you down, takes everything you thought you couldn't live without, and then forces you to find out who you really are without it. Months passed. Pain slowly gave way to strength. Weakness gave way to small victories. First walking on my own again, then breathing without the machines, and finally looking in the mirror without hating the reflection staring back. I was alive, and that had to mean something. I moved out of the apartment Adrian and I had shared. It felt like cutting a cord that had been strangling me. The new place was smaller, simpler, but it was mine. No shadows of him. No whispers of what he left behind. I got a job at a local publishing house, nothing glamorous, just enough to keep me moving forward. But I loved it. Words had always been my escape, and now they were my healing. Every day I told myself, you are more than his note. You are more than what he left. At work, I met Daniel. He wasn't like Adrian. Where Adrian was sharp edges and storms, Daniel was steady skies and warmth. He never asked about my past, never pushed. He simply offered me kindness, and for the first time in so long, I let myself accept it. One evening, after a long day, he brought me coffee and smiled. You look tired. You should rest. I laughed softly, shaking my head. I've been tired for years. This is nothing. He didn't pry. He just nodded, his gaze gentle. That was the thing about Daniel, he didn't try to fix me. He just stayed, and sometimes that was enough. Slowly, I rebuilt myself, not into who I used to be, but into someone new, someone stronger, someone who had walked through fire and refused to burn, and yet, even in my strongest moments, his note still lived in my drawer. I couldn't throw it away. I hated it, but I needed it, because as much as I wanted to forget, part of me still ached for Adrian, for the man who had let me go when I needed him most. One night, walking home from work, I passed a street musician playing a violin. The melody was hauntingly familiar. Adrian used to hum it when he thought no one was listening. I froze, my chest tightening. For the first time in years, his memory didn't feel like a ghost, it felt like a storm circling back. I shook the thought away, but something deep inside me whispered, you haven't seen the last of him. And I was right, because fate wasn't finished with us yet. It happened on an ordinary afternoon. I was walking out of the office, my bag slung over my shoulder, Daniel waiting by his car across the street. The city buzzed around me, traffic honking, people rushing past, and then I froze. Because standing on the opposite side of the road, half hidden beneath the shade of a tree, was Adrian. For a second, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me. He looked thinner, older, shadows carved into his face, but those eyes, the same storm I had once drowned in, were staring straight at me. My knees weakened, my breath caught in my throat. Emma, he whispered, though I couldn't hear him over the chaos of the street. I read the word on his lips. My name. Daniel's voice cut through the moment. Emma, you okay? I blinked hard, but Adrian was still there, real, alive. My heart slammed against my ribs. I wanted to run to him. I wanted to run away. Both urges tore at me until I couldn't move, but Adrian didn't cross the street. He just stood there, watching me, as if afraid that if he took a step closer, I would vanish. And then the light changed. Traffic surged forward, and in a blink, he was gone. Days later, I saw him again. This time, there was no escaping. I was leaving a cafe when a hand reached out and caught my wrist. I spun around, startled, and met his eyes. Emma, he breathed, his voice rough, desperate. Please, don't walk away. I froze, the air between us heavy with everything unsaid. You're alive, I whispered, my voice shaking. You let me believe you were gone. You left me with nothing but... My voice cracked. A note, his jaw tightened. I thought it was the only way to protect you. Protect me? I laughed bitterly, pulling my wrist free. Do you have any idea what I went through? Do you know I almost died? The pain in his eyes deepened, but I didn't let it soften me. Not this time. Emma, I made mistakes, he said, stepping closer. But I never stopped loving you. Not for a single moment. My heart ached at the words I once begged to hear, but I forced myself to stand tall. You don't get to say that now, I whispered. Not after everything. Behind me, Daniel's voice called my name. I turned, and there he was, steady, safe. The man who had stood by me when Adrian was nothing but a ghost. When I looked back, Adrian's gaze flickered to Daniel, and something dangerous burned in his eyes. Jealousy, the kind that could set everything on fire. Adrian's eyes followed Daniel like a predator stalking its rival. His jaw clenched, fists curling at his sides, and for a moment I feared he might strike. Daniel walked up calmly, slipping an arm protectively around me. "Everything okay here?" he asked, his tone firm. I swallowed hard, caught between two worlds. "Daniel, this is Adrian." The name hung in the air like poison. Daniel's brows furrowed, but he didn't speak. He didn't need to. His grip on my shoulder tightened, grounding me. Adrian's voice broke the silence, rough with emotion. "So this is who kept you warm when I was gone?" The bitterness in his words sliced through me. "Don't," I whispered. "Don't make it sound like I had a choice. You left me, Adrian. You left me to die alone." His face crumbled, pain flashing in his eyes. "I thought I was saving you. I didn't know you were the one fighting for your life." My chest heaved. "And if you had known, would you have stayed? Or would you have left anyway?" His silence was louder than any confession. Daniel stepped forward, his voice calm but edged with steel. "Emma doesn't owe you anything. You had your chance and you threw it away." Adrian's jaw tightened, his eyes never leaving mine. "Emma, tell me you don't still feel it. Tell me you don't still love me and I'll walk away." The world went still. My heart thundered, torn apart by the weight of his words. Daniel's hand squeezed mine, steady, unshakable. Adrian's gaze burned into me, desperate, pleading. And there I was, standing at the center of a fire that threatened to consume everything. My past, my present, and the fragile future I had built. My voice shook. My throat tightened. Every word stuck between my heart and my lips. Adrian stepped closer, his eyes glistening. "Emma, please, just say it. Say you don't love me." Tears welled in my eyes. "I can't." Daniel stiffened beside me. Adrian's breath hitched, hope flaring in his gaze. "But," I whispered, my voice cracking, "I can't forgive you either." Adrian's face fell, the hope in his eyes shattering into despair. Daniel's grip on me loosened, confusion and hurt flickering across his face. The silence between us was deafening, three hearts breaking in different ways at the same time. Adrian's fists clenched, his voice trembling. "I'll fight for you this time. I swear it, Emma, I won't let you go again." Daniel stepped in front of me, his voice firm. "She's not yours to fight for anymore." I pressed a hand to my chest, feeling the war raging inside me. The woman who once died for Adrian's love was not the same woman standing here now. I was stronger. I was scarred, but I was alive, and I had to choose whether those scars would bind me to the past or set me free. The night air grew heavy, pressing down on my chest like a storm waiting to break. The city lights flickered around us, but all I could see were two pairs of eyes, one begging, one waiting. Adrian's lips trembled as he whispered, "I still love you, Emma, even when I let you die. Even when I failed you, I never stopped." Daniel's voice cut through, steady but wounded. "And I love you enough to let you go if that's what you need. But don't stand here and break both of us. Choose." The word choose echoed in my head like a scream. I wiped my tears with the back of my hand. "Do you both realize what you're asking of me? One of you wants to erase the pain, the other wants me to bury the love. How do I win? When my heart is already split in half." Neither of them spoke. Their silence was cruel, forcing me to carry the weight. Adrian reached out, his hand trembling. "Come back to me, Emma. We'll start again. We'll make it right this time." Daniel let go of my hand, his voice soft but fierce. "If you walk away from me, I won't beg you to stay. I won't trap you in the past. But I promise, if you choose me, I'll never let you question your worth." My knees felt weak. The world blurred as tears fell freely. I thought of the nights I begged Adrian to stay, the mornings I woke up alone, the way Daniel picked up the broken pieces of me without asking for anything in return. My heart screamed both names, but my soul whispered only one. I stepped forward, my voice trembling but clear. "Adrian, I will always love you." His face lit up with a desperate, broken hope. "But I can't survive you again." The light in his eyes dimmed, a silent shatter echoing between us. I turned to Daniel, tears streaming down my face. "And you? You showed me what love feels like when it doesn't destroy me. I choose you." Daniel's chest rose with a deep breath, his eyes glistening as he pulled me into his arms. He didn't cheer. He didn't gloat. He just held me like I was the last fragile piece of the world worth protecting. Adrian's body shook. He laughed bitterly, covering his face with his hands. "So this is how my story ends. Not with fire, Not with forgiveness, just silence. When he lowered his hands, his eyes met mine one last time. I let you die once. Now I let myself die instead. And before I could move, he turned and walked into the night. His shadow disappeared into the dark, leaving behind only the echo of a love that ended in a dying note. Days passed, but the night I chose never left me. Adrian's face, his broken laugh, the way his shadow disappeared. It all replayed in my mind like an unfinished song. Daniel stayed close, never asking, never pushing. He let me grieve the man I didn't choose, even as I stayed in his arms. That kind of patience was its own kind of love. But then one evening a letter arrived at my door. The handwriting was messy, rushed but painfully familiar. My hands trembled as I opened it. Emma, they say love kills. Maybe it did. Maybe I was too blind to see yours until it was too late. I never meant to let you die. I just didn't know how to fight for you when the world told me to let go. You were always stronger than me. Don't come looking for me. By the time you read this, I'll already be gone. Somewhere the memory of you can't keep haunting me. But remember this. If your heart ever breaks again, look up at the sky. Every falling star you see will be me, still watching, still loving, even in silence. Yours once, yours always, Adrian. The paper slipped from my hand. My chest ached like a wound had opened all over again. Daniel picked up the letter, read it quietly, then placed it back on the table. He didn't say I told you so. He didn't curse Adrian. He simply cupped my face and whispered, "He was your first love, Emma, but I'll be your last." I broke down in his arms, sobbing not because I regretted my choice, but because love, real love, never ends without leaving behind scars. That night, I stepped outside and stared at the stars, and when one fell across the sky, burning bright before vanishing, I smiled through my tears. "Goodbye, Adrian," I whispered. "Rest in the silence you chose." Daniel's hand slipped into mine, warm and steady. He didn't need to speak. His presence was enough, and in that moment between loss and love, I finally understood. Sometimes stories don't end with forever. Sometimes they end with a dying note, and the strength to keep living after it fades. If you loved this story, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. It means the world.